You know, we define perfect paradise a little different, but where I think a lot of people agree is better weather, cheaper living, good, cheaper food, fresh, cheap food. And a lot of places meet that, although some places are more expensive than others. But since 2020, there's been like a change. I mean, we've been saying this all along, that the focus is now, and I was going to add to that description of the perfect paradise, is peaceful place. A lot of people do want all of those, but they don't, you know, necessarily aren't going to want to go to a place with better weather, cheaper food, and cheaper living. But then there's chaos, you know, being in the middle of war zones or something. So people want peace. What you got there?
I just found it.
Oh, it's interesting.
I think it's broke right here.
Oh yeah,
It's really pretty though.
it's pretty. Yeah, it's pretty. Hey, welcome back to our Retire Early lifestyle, wherever you want it to be. Speaking of which, so we're here on the beach again. Wonderful, mild weather. It's not as cold as I appear. It's just a little breezy, and I'm just being kind of comfy. But it's perfect walking weather, and that brings me to the title, Leaving Your Perfect Paradise But Nowhere to Go. Isn't that a thought for this age, 2020? And first off, I've talked to several friends and asked them, and these are people I've known for decades and that have a lot of discernment, and I'll tell you, none of them saw 2020 coming. None of them saw 2020 coming, and nobody saw 2020 coming. And the very few voices out there, you could count them on less than one hand, that were trying to warn people were being ridiculed and laughed at, you know. And so and that reminds me of one of our first videos we made back in the very beginning of this ordeal in January 2020, where we told people to take care of their immune systems.
So that's the big question I want you to focus on. Are you taking care of your immune today? I've showed you how I do that when I travel in other videos, and I won't go into that in this video. That's not what it's about. Better to fortify your fortress so that your enemy can't come in, right?
And that was a trendsetter video, because nobody was saying that. And so that brings me to the perfect paradise. You're hearing things like, I mean, you got like pre-2020, where positive migration, people moving to lower tax places, better weather, cheaper living, just all of the wonderful things that make the live abroad lifestyle. And, you know, and then people, you know, they put up with language differences and cultural differences in order to gain the benefits. But I ran into this article that it just caught my eye, that said that places like Singapore, which is typically the kind of place where rich entrepreneurs, especially rich online entrepreneurs, but not necessarily, anybody can go to Singapore, not just rich entrepreneurs, even somebody that wants to just work and have a job. We considered going to Singapore, which is for all of the reasons above, pre-2020. And so, but apparently there's a net outflow now from Singapore. And gee whiz, I mean, is there any wonder why there would be a net outflow? You know, at some of these places, they just, how overboard some of these places have gone. You know, we define perfect paradise a little different, but where I think a lot of people agree is better weather, cheaper living, good, cheaper food, fresh, cheap food. And a lot of places meet that, although some places are more expensive than others. But since 2020, there's been like a change. I mean, we've been saying this all along, that the focus is now, and I was going to add to that description of the perfect paradise, is peaceful place. A lot of people do want all of those, but they don't, you know, necessarily aren't going to want to go to a place with better weather, cheaper food, and cheaper living. But then there's chaos, you know, being in the middle war zones or something. So people want peace, and you know, they want to go somewhere where there's peace, and there is no peace at the moment. And you see what's happening over there at the Canadian border is a news blackout, and you know, they don't want you to know. They don't want you to know that there's much more than just a minority out there, that the majority of people want peace and they want to be left alone. So I'm seeing people, you're hearing of people now that are leaving some of these places because they're a lot harsher than they ever were before. A lot of places where you would have thought in times past to go, and it's not necessarily just for the rich, even for those of us that are just average Joe. You know, we want peace too, and we all want peace. You know, it's like you see this ocean here and the birds, it's so peaceful. But there's been a shift, and it's an ongoing shift, and you're seeing major shifts all over the place. And its foundation is of people that are no longer making decisions necessarily based on money. And pre-2020, you know, when times are good, right, people don't think about anything. They just think about the things they always think about, that people always seem to think about, you know, money. Oh yeah, where to pay less tax. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. But times have changed, and people have realized that if it's going to cost me peace, I think I'm going to rethink this, and I think I'm going to put peace at the top of my priority list. And so with this idea of people searching for peace, you have the ancient wisdom that says that peace is within, and the peace that is established is not as the world gives, but as the spirit of truth and the spirit of love gives. And so we're all rethinking our strategies to have peace and love and family and friends, all the things that really matter. And at the very top of the list, let's not forget health. And so a lot of times you see the general public is a little bit slow in coming around and waking up when it comes to coming to the truth. And a lot of that is because truth is deliberately hidden. Like we haven't seen that, you know, in the last couple of years. Truth is deliberately hidden. And what happens when the truth comes out and the general public, the general public John Doe finds out the truth? Then what happens? Yeah, I mean, there's a line being drawn. A lot of people have decided they don't want to be a digital nomad with sticks up their nose or worse. You know, they don't want to be told at the last minute, oh, you can't board the plane. They don't want to be discriminated against. They don't want to be singled out. They don't want to be surprised.
Oh, time to go to quarantine.
Yeah, they don't want, right. They don't want to land in some airport. Oh, hey, yeah, we're going to pick on you today. Come to the back room. Do this, do that, stay here. You know, this is not what that's all about. I was watching this John Stossel video, and he was interviewing these people, Mexicans living in America, and they were talking about, where's the freedom? Like that commercial, where's the beef? Where's the freedom? Well, you can say that globally now. Where's the freedom? So anyway, I'm going to cut this video before I go down a dark alley. Thanks for coming to the channel. Hope you got something out of that. Have a nice day.